Boy, I didn't expect the emotions we got from Hawkeye fans over the last couple of days. Heading into Albany weekend, sounded like Iowa was in good position to just roll over the Great Danes, and we would see Mark Gronowski's debut be smooth as silk. That's not what we got. A struggling passing attack, a dominant run game, but some concerns heading into week 2, and rightfully so, especially with an Iowa State team that seems poised to take the next step forward. They have looked really good through 2 weeks. Say what you want about week 1 against Kansas State. They have been good. They're 2-0, and they'll be the home team in the Cyhawk game this Saturday. We'll talk about Iowa's week 2 depth chart that was just released in just a minute. But first, a big thank you to Randy Engel and Under the Kitchen. If you visited him at Fry Fest on Friday, thank you very much for doing that. He appreciates the support, as do we. You can browse all of his signed and unsigned prints. He's working with a number of current Hawkeyes and former Hawkeyes. Visit underthekitchen.square.site. That's underthekitchen.square.site. So the Hawkeyes have released their week 2 depth chart. Not a ton to note except for some injuries that have affected the lineup. There are a couple other minor changes here that we'll run through. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. No changes, of course, at quarterback. Wide receiver, the only change being Reese Vanderzee, not listed as the backup X. Of course, he wasn't the backup X because he was out this past week, but last Monday, he was listed as the backup to Sam Phillips. Tight end, no changes. Ostrenga, Ortworth, Large. Left tackle, it looks like Iowa favoring Trevor Lauk, although I didn't think Jack Doetzler played poorly in his time at left tackle this past Saturday. Both got time. Trevor Lauk now listed as the starter. There's no or designation. Doetzler as the backup. Left guard, Bo Stevens, Leighton Jones. No Bryce George listed. He got hurt during warmups. We'll see about a timetable. Kirk was not real certain on the length of his absence, but he does expect the Ferris State transfer to return. Logan Jones, Michael Maslinski at center, no change there. Cade Pieper, Cale Winter at right guard. This is also a change that could go unnoticed. Week 1, it was true freshman Lucas Allgaier as the backup to Pieper, but now Cale Winter, who I also had as a candidate for backup center, he is listed as the official right guard backup. Right tackle, Jennings Dunker, Cannon Leonard. He appears on the 2 deeps here heading into week 2 with Doetzler now only listed at left tackle. The other wide receiver spots, Seth Anderson, Caden Weegan, Jacob Gill, KJ Parker. No change there. Running back, Iowa lost Kamari Moulton this past week early in the game. He looked good early, but I'll tell you, Terrell Washington Jr., Xavier Williams both looked good. I'm a little surprised. We saw Jazz Patterson come in late in the ball game, but he is listed as the co-backup to Terrell Washington. So it's Terrell Washington as RB1, and then RB2s are Xavier Williams, Jazz Patterson. Could be a clerical error, but I'm surprised after what we saw from Xavier Williams that he is not listed atop the depth chart, at least as a co-starter with Terrell Washington Jr. The left edge rusher on the defensive side, Max Llewellyn, backed up by Kenneth Merriweather. It's interesting, Iowa had Merriweather as the right edge rusher last week, and Brian Allen was over at left. Now those two have switched positions, so Merriweather listed as the left guy, and Brian Allen listed as the backup right guy. Of course, Ethan Herkett is the other starter at defensive end. On the interior, you got a couple of changes. Graves and Hubert still listed as one of the tackles, but at the other defensive tackle spot, Bryce Hawthorne no longer listed as the starter. It's Bryce Hawthorne or Jonah Pace. So Pace showed out well on Saturday, apparently. Maybe Iowa wasn't real impressed with what they saw from Bryce Hawthorne, who I know has impressed a lot of people during fall camp. So those guys co-starters. And now you have official backup Jeremiah Pittman back on the 2 deeps. He had been coming back from an injury throughout fall camp. Listed at cash, it's Zach Lutmer, Cohen Entringer, no surprise there. Leo, no changes. Landon Van Kekerik's the backup to Jackson Rexroth. Middle linebacker, Jaden Harrell, Jaden Montgomery, no surprise, no change. And then Shire and Rexroth at the final linebacker spot. Left corner, TJ Hall, Jalen Watson, or Shahid Barros. No changes there. I know some people frustrated with TJ week 1, maybe blowing it out of proportion a little bit. I am still concerned about corner as a whole, not one individual. The other corner spot, it's Deshaun Lee, Jalen Watson, or Rashad Godfrey. So Jalen Watson is without question the undisputed cornerback 2 right now. Shahid Barros probably with some work to do still to gain ground. At safety, it's Cohen Entringer, Zach Lutmer. So those guys just flipped from cash, as was the case in week 1. And then at free safety, Xavier Wampa, Cohen Entringer, Cale Kolarek as the co-backup with entering her. So Phil Parker's going to shuffle that group around. Here's a difference with week 2 from week 1. Specialists listed in totality, not just Drew Stevens and Reese Dakin. Iowa's listing a snapper. Ike Speltz, Bryant Worrell, both listed. And that's one position I do think I got right preseason. I told you those two would likely trade off and share those duties, and I believe that's the case week 1. I think we saw Worrell snapping on field goal tries and then Ike Speltz on punts. Holder is Ty Nissen, no surprise there, but he's officially listed. Punt return, Caden Weegan listed as the starting punt returner and the starting kick returner. Here's one I got wrong. I had KJ Parker lining up alongside him, at least as a kick returner, maybe even as the punt guy, the backup punt return guy, but not the case. After the big run from Sam Phillips week 1 as a punt return guy, he is the backup to Caden Weegan, and then at kick return, it's Terrell Washington Jr. as the guy lining up alongside Caden Weegan. So the big injury storylines to follow: Kamari Moulton, running back that went down over the weekend. We'll get an update from Kirk Ferentz, I'm sure, on Tuesday, but it does not appear that Moulton will play this Saturday. Bryce George, who was figuring into the lineup, the rotation for Iowa along that offensive line, it does not appear he will be playing, and certainly Reese Vanders, he's not going to play this weekend either. So Iowa had been pretty healthy throughout fall camp until this last week, but in general, most of the guys that are starters will be fine. They'll play on Saturday, and I'm not real worried about it being Terrell Washington, Jazz Patterson, Xavier Williams, as opposed to Moulton. I think they've got 4 really good options, maybe 5 if you want to keep going down the list, with a Nate McNeil who played a little bit this past Saturday. So we'll continue to talk about Cy-Hawk. I've got my live show with Mark Rogers Tuesday at 4 p.m. We'll be coming out with my grades from week 1, and we'll officially preview Iowa State for week 2. That video coming very soon. Be sure you hit the thumbs up button, folks. That like button helps us a lot. Be sure you share your comments. What did you think of the game on Saturday? What did you think of the week 2 depth chart release on Monday? And we will talk to you Tuesday right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.